Welcome to the recording for week 8 of game design, and you can see that week 8 goes from February 25th to March 3rd. Before we jump into this though, I want to cover a couple of things. First of all, in week 7 you're doing a game called Choco Break, and you guys go through the tutorial. Here's a video that I created that'll help you get started on that. It covers about half of that tutorial. So that was part of the week 7 work. So if I go to week 7, then you'll see that you'll do the Choco Break game. That's part of the MMF2 software, and it's a tutorial that you'll do. So you'll create this Choco Break game, and then you'll turn that in as the assignment for the week. So that's week 7. Now week 8, well, actually, let me back up and cover a couple of things. Passing plans. Here's the passing plan for the course. So this passing plan, if you do all the stuff in this passing plan, you could earn around 603 points. See if it'll open up for me. So you can see this passing plan, you can earn about 603 points, and that will give you a D where you'd pass. So you can see that I've lined out a few of the things here. The quizzes, that's getting most of the points on the quizzes, maybe not getting full credit on all the assignments. So you can see all the things that you could do, and then towards the end, you really don't have to do all the stuff towards the end, and then you can end up still passing the class. So again, this would be if you just want to pass, and a D, you're happy with a D, then here's what I recommend. So shoot to get this stuff done. Of course, on some of these, I put 80 out of 100. You might get 100 out of 100, so you'd end up with more points. Okay, so that's the passing plan, so that'll help those of you that just want to pass. All right, week 8. Week 8, we're going into the audio unit. So of course you watch this recording, you'll do the write-up, and then you begin the unit. We're skipping the discussions, as you know, and we're doing there's a sounds assignment you're going to do, and then a quiz. And then for Thursday, you're creating some music for your final project if you're going to do your final project. And there's a music quiz. So this is all about the audio unit. So let's scroll on down. Here we are in the audio unit. And first thing we'll do is take a look at the Class Connect write-up. So you can see, so what is the focus of the audio unit? That's going to be that's the first question. So we'll go ahead and jump right into it. And here we are in game design, the audio unit. In the audio unit, the focus is that it deals with sound effects, music, and the integration of sound within game engines. So that's the focus of the audio unit. So in this unit, you're going to look at the importance of sound effects in games, how to acquire sound effects, how to differentiate between sound and music, understand the need for music, the types of music in games, how to apply music, and how to integrate music into the games that one can create. Of course, you don't want to go by this. You go by the grade book to determine points. For instance, the course project is only worth 100 points and not worth 200. So warm up, this just says go online, do some research, take some notes on sound effects, things like that. You can do that if you want to. So section A. Maybe you haven't seen this movie, but this is one of the great sound effects of all time in movies. So hopefully you can hear that. It's just with violins. Isn't that cool? So she got stabbed in the shower in this Alfred Hitchcock movie called Psycho. So that shows you the importance of sound effects. So imagine yourself watching this movie and then all of a sudden that sound happened. In section A, in this section, we're going to look at the importance of sound effects and how to acquire sound effects. And before we move on, let's go ahead and go back to the Class Connect write-up, because I always want to make sure we know what we have to come up with. So how can hearing impaired people still get the benefits of sound in games? So this talks about sound, and sound is a vital part of the interaction with the environment. Audio reinforces the physical sensations you're feeling in the game and things like that. Menu buttons, sounds can be added to menu buttons, and other things can be added. But this talks about in case of a player having hearing impairments or audio issues, a visual cue could complement the audio. So if I click this button, watch what happens. See how it pops in? So I could hear the sound click, But then if I am hearing impaired, I can actually see that button move. So hearing impairment, a visual clue can help you with that. Now, different types of sound. So FM and module sound. And FM really created a new way with games. Before, back in the early 70s with games, they were just beeps and buzzes and things like that. But with FM, it allowed games to really add more things. So in FM, let's go back to the Class Connect write-up and see what the question was. It said, how did FM sound change gaming? Let's see, what would be the best answer for this? Well, really, the answer for this is that FM is used to provide real-world sounds and musical instruments. So that's what FM allowed. So you could hear this, you could listen to this on FM, and mod is a music format. But really what FM did is it provided users with approximate real-world sounds and musical instruments. At that time the sounds were amazing, but not nearly what they are today. MIDI and Redbook audio. So this just talks about other types of sounds. So MIDI is usually musical instruments. MIDI devices can be connected to your computer to play musical instruments and things like that. Then commercial games that are on CDs, they use what's called a Redbook audio. That's the best music format for that. Because the biggest thing with music and sound is it takes up lots of memory space. So this Redbook audio compresses sound really well. And I mentioned that because that's one of the questions in the write-up. It says, was the type of sound used for CD-based games? The Redbook audio. There's the sound effects activity. So based on the last couple of slides, see how well you can do on that. Applying sound effects in games. So sound effects, like in this car racing game, you could have a sound effect that could show the engine revving up. You could have a sound effect of the screeching tires. Sound effect of, if you're in a game like a first-person shooter game, you could have the enemy approaching from behind, heavy breathing, or somebody's footsteps coming up behind you. So there's all types of games, or all types of sound effects that one can have. And the job of the sound designer, you can see right here, is to create sound effects to be integrated into the game mechanics. So as the game is developed, the sound designer puts the correct sounds to the game. So that's what the sound designer does. Let's go back here to the write-up. So job of the sound designer, just said that. And what do the best sound designers do to get the best sounds? Mostly look down here, this talks about Foley sounds, which you learned about in week 7, where you make sounds, not real sounds, but sounds from other objects to mimic real sounds. But the best sound designers, if you look down here, best sound designers go out in the world, record natural sounds, and they can tweak them into sounds for games. So you could record the revving of a car engine, and then you could take it into the lab and into the sound studio, make changes to it. Sound effects quiz. So as always, right here's a sound effects quiz preview. Make sure you do that. Okay, section B. So now we're getting into music. So we looked at sound effects earlier. Now we're going to talk about music. And music is frequencies which appeal to the human senses. So that's the difference between music and sound, because sound is just something you hear. It could be anything. Now sometimes, this is interesting too, the things that you think is music, like some of the I don't even know the types of music. Let's just say rap. Rap, I just consider that sound. You consider it music. Because for you, certain songs in rap and everything might be appealing. To me, it may not be appealing. Or some of the grunge rock or whatever it is. So that's the difference between sound and music. Now this section we're going to look at the differences between sound effects and music. understand the need of music in games, know the types of music in games, and then how to apply different effects. Let's go to the Class Connect write-up, see if we have any questions in this section. It says, explain the difference between music and sound effects in games. That's on page 3. So here we are on page 3. And actually it's right down here if you look at the bottom, but what this does, this talks about sound effects. So sound can be perceived as anything which can be heard, and there are some sounds that people cannot hear, but those are still sounds. And it talks about what sound engineers do, how they take the visual and then develop audio that goes along with the visual. So you can imagine, look at this picture, imagine some of the sounds that go along with that. And then the sound effects, they can emphasize the reality in the game. They can really pull you right into the game. And then finally down here at the bottom, main difference between music and sound effects is the duration. Music is heard throughout the game, while sound effects just accompany certain events. So that's the difference between music and sound effects as far as their part in the game. Not the physical part of them, but the part that they play in the game. So that's the difference there. In page 4, so you understand the need for music. So certainly in games like High School Musical, Die Hard, those types of things, music is a big part of it. The music is playing throughout, and the actors perform, not in Die Hard, but in High School Musical, the actors perform music and things like that. But in those types of games, they have the musical scores. But musicians, they can heighten the thrill of the action, inform the player when danger lurks, set a tone for comedy parts. So there are many different ways that music can add to a game. So if we go back to the Class Connect write-up, give 2 examples of how the music in games that you play can affect gameplay. So if I go back to page 8 and 9 here, actually we're not even there yet. So this is all talking about soundtracks and how those are parts of games. The discussions, of course, we're not doing in this. Actually, that was page 4. I'm sorry, I got confused. So page 4 give 2 examples of how music in games that you play can affect gameplay. So let's go back to page 4. I thought that's where the answer was. So if we look at this example says music can heighten the thrill of action, inform the player when danger lurks around the corner, or set a lighter or comedic moment. So those are examples of what music can do. But what I'd like you to do is I want you to give 2 examples of how music in games that you play. So what you would do in this answer, you'd give me the name of the game and a couple of instances of how music affects the game, how the music changes in the game that you play. So this is something that you actually do. So you're not going to copy those examples that were on the previous slide. You can come up with your own on games that you play. So tell me the name of the game and describe what the music does. So we'll skip the discussion. Types of music. So you can go through here, watch this presentation, or read the script and look at types of music in different types of games. It's like orchestra, ensemble music. There are music scores, adaptive music, looping music. So music scores would be songs that are specific for that game. Adaptive music would be music that has been changed or adapted for games, and looping music would be music that plays throughout or long stretches of the game. Applying music in MMF2. Now in the Choco Break game in week 3, you applied some ready-made audio effects and music. Now you're going to create your own. So you'll use the Audacity software, and I've showed you can go to the announcements and there's information on how to download it. Also, if you go to the orientation part of the course, so right up here, go to orientation. Then there's a tutorial on using Audacity. And here is an explanation of how to export audio files and how to use Audacity, because you will need to make a sound file for your final game project. Now, if this ends up being a big challenge, that final project is worth 100 points. If you don't get the sound file, but everything else is correct, you'll probably end up getting 80% out of 100. 80 points out of 100. So don't let it frighten you if you can't get the sound. It's not going to ruin your grade. Creating music for the final project. So this is looking at the final project, and in the final project you're going to create your own game similar to the Choco Bricks game, but you're going to create your own game. You're going to put your own sound to it. So look at this to start preparing for that final project. Music quiz, and of course I have the music quiz preview right over here for you. Okay, section C. Now we're going to look at how you integrate these sounds into games. So we're going to learn about the integration of sound into game engines. Let's go take a look at the write-up, see what we have here. It says, explain what music integration is as it relates to a game player's actions. So here we are on page 3. So integration is a vital part of the game design, just as writing a musical score for a play or a movie. If the music gets blown away when the game character starts talking, or if the music loop is not planned properly, the game will not be good. Integration is also the key to make the music play according to the gameplay, which means that the music changes according to the player's actions. So that sentence right here, the ideas in that sentence answers this class connector write-up. So if we go back to that write-up, it says explain what music integration is as it relates to game players' actions. Well, what music integration is that if the music is integrated properly, it means that the music changes according to the player's actions. That's the true integration of music. And as you start to put the music in, you see there are multiple steps. Organize and prioritize the files. And then you move on to further steps. Some platform rules. So here's some rules for music that apply to all platform games. So you can kind of take a look at these rules and how the audio is stored and different things like that. So it just talks about in general using sound. Putting all together, game analysis. What it wants you to do is you'll go to Real Arcade link, play 2 or 3 online games. Think about how they put the elements together. The content, the story, the characters, those types of things. And there's no assignment to this. They just want you to go take a look at that. Discussion. Don't worry about this. This discussion was going to be based on the work in the previous screen, so we're not doing the discussions. Course projects. So now here we are wrapping up the course. Again, this course project is worth 100 points, not 200. But in this course project, you're going to do something similar that you did in the Choco Break game in week 7. But you're going to add your own sound effects and things like that. So I'm going to click here to see the full description. And as you do this game, it may end up looking like the Choco game, but you're going to use different characters, different items, different strategies, and things like that. So here's the work you're going to do for this. You're going to create a design for the new game. So what is the title of it? All of that. So you're going to answer these questions. So that's going to be worth 20 points. So you do that as a Word document. So you're going to turn in a plan for the game. Then your prototypes. You're going to create a working prototype of the game. Must have 3 levels, 4 sound effects and music in the background, 4 objects that you create, so original artwork. So you can see there's a variety of things you're going to do. Now here's some other tutorials on multimedia fusion. You might be able to find some other ones too to help you out. So the requirements for your prototype, this can be down here. So again, the plan is going to be 20 points. The prototype is going to be 60 points, so that equals 80. And then finally we get down below here. You're going to do an essay, that's going to be 20 points. You're a short essay describing your final game. So you'll see that when you get this finished, you're going to turn in 3 documents to me. One is going to be the MFA file that you create using Multimedia Fusion, and you're going to have 2 Word documents that you'll submit. And again, this is worth 100 points, 10% of your grade. Don't stress out about it. If you get 80% on this, then obviously the 80 out of 100 is pretty good. All right, so that's the last recording for this course. I'm pretty happy about it. How about you? But just to cover a couple of things, let's try to get to the course home here. That doesn't look like it wants to come up. So anyway, that's the last of the recording. So I look forward to your work coming in. But remember, you need 595 points to pass. So hopefully you can get on it and get working. And the one thing I wanted to show in the course home, I have the week 9 information in there, but the course is over on March 15th. I suggest you turn work in by March 13th in case it needs to be revised. If you turn in anything after March 13th, you will not be able to revise it. So that's all I have for you. Good luck on getting this final work wrapped up. Bye.